seed in our homeland, boys. Let it grow where all can see. Feed it with our devotion, boys. Call it the Liberty Tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Save it from the storm, boys. Water down its roots with tea. And the sun will always shine on the old Liberty Tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. March along with the piper, boys. We were born forever free. Let's go pay the piper, boys, beneath the Liberty Tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Pay the price they're asking, boys. Always pay the tyrant's fee. Never give up the struggle, boys. Fight for the Liberty Tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Stand for the rights of man, boys. Stand against all tyranny. Hang the lance of freedom, boys. High on the Liberty Tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. It will grow as we grow, boys. It will be as strong as we. We must cling to our faith, boys. Faith in the Liberty Tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty.
Join Mark and Don for Weapons Wednesday, where you'll learn how to use everything from your bare hands to your average AR-15.
The 12-gauge autoloader,
Sure.
the 45 long slide
Yep.
with laser sighting,
You betcha.
the Uzi 9mm
Yes, sir.
phased plasma rifle in a 40-watt range.
What are you, crazy?
Wrong.
Okay. They'll talk about that too. So whatever question you have about whatever weapon you have, call Mark and Don on Weapons Wednesday. And remember, your mind is your first best weapon.
We all need to prepare ourselves. You might have the food, water, gold, and silver, but ask yourself, are you truly prepared? That's why you need to visit MaineMilitary.com. MaineMilitary.com carries everything you need. Gas masks, fire starter kits, high-capacity magazines, chemical suits, military surplus items, and much more. Do you own a firearm? MaineMilitary.com has a large selection of pistols and rifles suited for your needs. Are your local stores sold out of ammunition? Call or visit them today for prices on hard-to-find ammo and bulk ammo orders. You don't need to worry about having a military surplus store in your area because MaineMilitary.com is the only store you'll ever need, all from the comfort of your computer. Visit them online today at MaineMilitary.com. That's Maine, like the state, military.com.
Liberty's Guardian, Guns and Ammunition, a family-owned business located in the heart of Ohio's hunting country. Let us help you find the right shotgun or rifle for you. Or if you're looking for a pistol or concealed carry, we have a nice selection of compact and subcompact pistols for that too. Check out our website at www.libertiesguardian.com. That website again is www.libertiesguardian.com. Go to the website and check out our selection today.
I had a dream the other night that, well, I didn't understand. A figure walked in through the mist with a flintlock in his hand. His clothes were torn and dirty as he stood there by my bed. He took off his three-cornered hat, and speaking low to me, he said, "We fought a revolution to secure our liberty. We wrote the Constitution as a shield from tyranny. For future generations, this legacy we gave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. The freedoms we secured for you, we'd hoped you'd always keep. But tyrants labored endlessly while your parents were asleep. Your freedom's gone, your courage lost. You're no more than a slave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. You buy permits to travel and permits to own a gun. permits to start a business or to build a place for one. On land that you believe you own, you pay a yearly rent, although you have no voice in saying how the money's spent. Your children must attend a school that doesn't educate, and your Christian values can't be taught according to the state. You read about the current news in a regulated press, and you pay a tax you do not owe to please the IRS. Your money is no longer made of silver nor of gold. You trade your wealth for paper so your life can be controlled. You pay for crimes that make our nation turn from God and shame. You've taken Satan's number. You've traded in your name. You've given government control to those who do you harm so they could burn down churches and seize the family farm and keep our country deep in debt, put men of God in jail, harass your fellow countrymen while corrupted courts prevail. Your public servants don't uphold the solemn oaths they've sworn, and your daughters visit doctors so their children won't be born. Your leaders send artillery and guns to foreign shores and send your sons to slaughter fighting other people's wars. Can you regain the freedoms for which we fought and died? Or don't you have the courage or the faith to stand with pride? And are there no more values for which you'll fight to save? Or do you wish your children to live in fear and be a slave? O sons of the Republic, arise, take a stand, defend the Constitution, the supreme law of the land. Preserve our great republic and each God-given right. And pray to God to keep the torch of freedom burning bright. As I awoke, he'd vanished in the mist from whence he came. His words were true. We are not free, but we have ourselves to blame. For even now as tyrants trample each God-given right, we only watch and tremble, too afraid to stand and fight. If he stood by your bedside in a dream while you were asleep and wondered what remains of the freedoms he'd fought to keep, what would be your answer if he called out from the grave? Is this still the land of the free and home of the brave? God bless you, and God bless this republic.
There we go. Sorry about that. Not Ed's fault. This fault. Technology at this end. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the first hour of the afternoon intelligence report. I'm Mark Kornke. One day closer to victory for all of our brothers and sisters, both on and behind the lines in occupied territories, southwest, north, northeast, and east. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to us on Libertytreeradio.4mg.com, Liberty Tree Radio on YouTube live stream, and we are on AM and FM micro stations, AM and FM conventional stations, and CB base stations, along with UltraNet, Hallmark, and Golden Spike Technologies east and west of the Mississippi, along with Alaska. Good afternoon to all of our friends out there in Lower 49, including the great state of Jefferson, the CONUS AO, along with the outlying two states, the territories, and the clock. It is 5:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is Tuesday, Communications Tuesday. It is the 22nd of September. It is the 12th year of open Fabian socialist and in-your-face Soviet socialist occupation of America with a K. 2020 Old Earth Calendar, 2020 Battle for the Republic, the Dance of Swords. You're living the beginning. Congratulations. It's exactly what we expected. Ain't nobody getting caught flat-footed. In fact, everybody is in high gear to get as much done as we can. Today is Communications Tuesday, and there's a number of things that we do need to address. But first of all, to Michelle, Ann, Eric, Wilford, Heather, Raymond, Jason, Christina, and Christopher B. I want to say thank you and congratulations. We appreciate the support from you guys. Yesterday, we didn't know that there was a whole new Micro FM net in motion, and for Eric and also Christopher B., I understand you guys put the grid together, so we're giving a wave to somebody I didn't know we should have been waving at yesterday. We appreciate you guys rebroadcasting us. Thank you very much. Micro FM broadcasting. It can be anywhere, and guess what? We are. So, I'm smelling the coffee here. Hold on. Oh, yeah, that smells good. Hold on, taste. So now evil and bad for the president that's in charge to, decide who the next kosher mafia knuckle dragger is going to be that's going to be telling us what to do from the Supreme Court. Does it really make any difference either way? Well, in theory, hold on here. But let me think this through. Several years ago, we have had more than once, we've had this situation, and always the Democrats thought it was wonderful when the Democrat was, doing what he wanted to do. Now the Republican, in theory, is going to do what he wants to do, and all sputtering, gnashing of teeth, rending of hair. But we're also seeing who is really not, in the camp of the Republicans, even though they like the title. And I think everybody should pay attention every time this happens, because we know that we're being played. Okay, we understand it's a shill game. It's all a fake. It's a farce. But they still have circles within circles and other plans within plans. And so here we have Rum Dum Romney and a bunch of these others that are doing the, I got to show you how communist or Soviet whatever. Yeah, whatever. They can be by being contrary to the rest of the Soviet. Okay, to the little Soviet, let's put it that way. So anyway, as it stands, for all of the situations that we are seeing here, this just in a teapot, the dog and pony show that is going on with the, the end of the weekend at Ginsburg's. The body started to stink. They had a Jewish holiday they had to worry about. They couldn't stretch it any farther, so yeah, I guess weekend at Ginsburg's is over, okay? And now we're on to other things. This will keep everybody busy for a moment while all of the rioting is still going on, the burning is still going on, but they're trying to play it down by not covering it now. I think that's most fascinating, even though in social media, especially with the communists who run, that part of social media, they're making sure they give all of their butt buddies a proper pat on the head and a squeeze on the rumpus, and coverage is needed to, let the rape, kill, pillage, and burn, kill all the white people crew continue to do what they're doing, okay, but without as much of an eye towards that. Now, we can expect that. We've seen this in the past. We've seen far worse, okay, and absolutely nobody allowed to talk about it in the controlled media at all. Hell, the Waco hearings after the fact, they tried desperately not to cover them. There were 7 separate, independent, demanded by Congress, in Congress, hearings, which, of course, every one of the rat turds that were with the Jewish mob tried to block every step of the way, because it got all the rest of the information out to show that government was guilty across the board, and pretty much everything they generated was a lie. Okay, so this is not like we've never seen this. So this is like nothing we've ever seen. Only for those of you who might have been asleep. We've seen bad and worse than we're seeing right now. Just as bad. In fact, this is like the 3rd or 4th wave. I'd have to do some math, because I think the 2nd wave to the 3rd kind of blended into each other. But we have seen all of this for decades. We've told people about it. No, that's not happening. That's just crazy conspiracy theory. Until it happens and it burns somebody's fingers that was saying, this is crazy conspiracy theory. All of a sudden they have an epiphany, as we know. As a matter of fact, for KB, we tried that out. For those of you who haven't, real quick, I got to mention this. Again, over at YouTube, for a lot of you have phone ops, if you're using a phone connection, you might have an app that is readily pinned for you to just tap, and it goes right to YouTube. Well, guess what? That means you go right to Liberty Tree Radio, hook up right away, and you're down the road moving and listening. And in many ways, it might be safer. I'm worried more about people having accidents trying to fiddle fart with technology. So think about it that way. Maybe it's faster and easier. Maybe it's not. Depends on what service you have. I know how that is, too. So it's the convolution of the 21st century gobbledygook, really piss-willy technologies that they've committed to. It's newer, it's better. No, it's not. It's junk. But we can use all of it, and we will, as we need to, and we are doing it right now. So take advantage of it. Anyway, a couple other things. I always have to mention them now because AIM Surplus seems to have a nice little collection of stuff that they have grabbed and put out there on the table. Don't know who they're buying it from. Everybody's got a different jobber that they purchase from, some overlap. But I would point out that they had some 9mm, again, only lasted an hour, I think, aimsurplus.com, but that means that whenever you check over there, remember, you never know what you're going to be running into. You might want to grab it. They've not been going excessive on the price on any of their standard calibers if they find them, for a reasonable price. So that's why they don't advertise with us. We don't get any special compensation from AIM. But when they do get some goodies in, hawk right in there and snag what you can. For the moment, it looks like that 9mm is already gone, and they had some 40 caliber. It looks like, ooh, that's gone too. All this was under $20 a box. And the 9mm was PPU. So again, that's not a surprise. They've got a good connection there. aimsurplus.com. AIM Surplus. They still have the 32 ACP Norma. I'm amazed that that's there for $15.95. But if you got a 32 automatic, keep stacking and racking. Fill another 50 caliber can with 32. Okay, you got to shoot them a few more times, maybe, but that's a matter of how good are you with the gun you're carrying, and you better get good at the gun you have to carry because at least you have ammunition for it. Okay, just a little heads up on that one. Communications. There are a number of devices that are kind of cool that are out there that can be used for, signal communications. But I would point out that for really agitating and messing with the bad guys, smoke alarms, don't throw any out. If you got a source, maybe you got somebody who works in apartments or in a school and they pull out old smoke alarms. Guys, those older style ones especially that really are grating, they run off a standard, DC power source. Usually it's 1 or 2 batteries. Sometimes it's a specialized battery if they're really old. But it's still basically a 1.5 or 3.2 or 3 volt battery, depending. Some are 3.8. Who cares? It'll run on 3 volts, which means 2 AA's or 2 D cell batteries will give you all the power you need for a long time. Well, what good are these? Well, this is a way to disrupt and mess with the enemy, especially since, some of them have earmuffs, some of them have ear protection. But remember that the smoke alarm is designed to attack the nervous system. It's supposed to agitate you to the point where you have to respond to it. They'll wake you up out of a sleep, wake you up when you maybe have a little smoke inhalation. You were breathing the stuff and didn't wake up, and hopefully, it'll finally get you going, or beep, 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 whatever it is, okay? Guys, these make great little they're evasive, invasive, let's put it that way, not evasive, invasive, but they are non-lethal. However, they are another way to mess with the enemy to create more confusion in a close-quarter battlefield situation. Also great ways to let you know that somebody's coming. You can set them up as non-explosive tripwire devices. You step on a plate, on a piece of plywood that looks like it's just the carpet, and makes a connection. Wah, 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 wah. There they are. Okay, you're already squared away. There's all kinds of neat tricks you can use. Some people even use photocell. And when you walk past it, wah, 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 and you can't shut it off. Once it opens up, it stays running. It stays running where your bad guys are and out of reach. You want it out of reach. You want it inaccessible, but you want it where it's going to saturate the area, or maybe 1, 2, or 3 of them are going to saturate the area. They are a great way to communicate to you an aggressor is in motion up a particular avenue of approach, especially inside buildings. Remember, too, if you've got barriers and nasty, mean things they don't even know about yet, it's agitating because they know that you know, but here's the thing, you're not making any effort. Well, they feel they can press forward. They may be more cautious because they just set off what is a non-lethal booby trap. Maybe there's lethal booby traps, right? No, we weren't as stupid as you thought we were. Well, in the process, remember, tripwire or booby traps of any kind slow down and force the enemy to be more cautious about advancing, which means it gives you a better opportunity to shoot them. That's what barbed wire does. That's what obstacles do. That's what, even a minefield. People, if they're motivated, will go through a minefield. Well, yeah, boom. Yeah, well, that mine's gone there now. It's amazing what an aggressor might be willing to do. But in the process, if they're in any way, shape, or form, let's say, worried about their life expectancy, amazingly enough, they will back off and slow down to try and reevaluate life in general and their approach to your position. So there's all kinds of neat stuff you can do like this. You can command activate the things with nothing more than using a clothesline clip as a switch. There's all kinds of designs out there you can see. Piece of metal on one side of the clip, piece of metal on the other, couple of wires, very short, going to your power supply. Put a little piece of wedge material in between the clip, between the jaws. When you pull on a string, it activates and the circuit stays complete. And wah, until the battery dies. It just doesn't stop. And there's nothing you can do to stop it. You can put it up in a tree, up in an air duct, or just on the edge of an air duct, up out of reach, up above, but out of sight, out of mind. There's all kinds of places you can put it below and above, in fact, multiples, so that no matter what, you just can't get away. And if you're pinning somebody down with small arms fire, well, maybe you put them into a kill zone, but the kill zone is, again, the idea is that they can't move. They may not be hit, but they can't go back. They will be shot moving down a corridor or down a stairway. They can't go forward. They will be shot moving forward and going up a stairway or down a corridor or whatever. So they're stuck there. Meanwhile, all the rest of this wah is going on. It's kind of, hey, it's great agitation. Take the cheap free tools you got like this. These are cheap free tools. These are things that you can access for right now for nothing. Put them in a 5-gallon pail. Down the road, start working on them. Go over to Dollar Tree, grab yourself $2 or $3 or $4 packs of the clothesline clips that are wood, and now you got all the booby trap switches you want for what? $1 for how many? And then the rest is just a matter of your creativity. By the way, watch for somebody. I got a 1,000-foot of single strand yellow telephone wire. Oh, that'd be perfect for this kind of project. I don't need that many feet. I only need a few inches to hook it up and solder to a little battery supply, and hook up the clip and chick, or whoop, whatever it is. Who cares? Doesn't make any difference. Makes noise. And my favorite are the old ones. They're actually, I don't know who makes any like that anymore, but the old ones, they are a grinder, and it's like somebody chewing on tin foil or dragging their fingernails across the chalkboard. For those who don't like it, it's not a happy camper situation. For those of us who really aren't bothered by that, oh well, still makes noise. So it's a cool solution and a cheap solution. A cheap thing can be made from all castaways at minimal expense, and it can be kept on reserve, ready to be used. Doesn't have to go boom. Just needs to make noise. We don't need an explosion. We don't need anything. We don't even need illumination, although you can do that too. Here's a neat thing. Some of your smoke alarms have a strobe, don't they? They do. So if you hook that up to eliminate all the electronic guts for fire monitoring, and cross over the noisemaker along with the light strobe and the light strobe circuit, and you've got yourself some disco party noise. Yeah, see how that works? Isn't that fun? There's all kinds of stuff. And again, this is non-lethal, not going to hurt anybody per se, but it can be used also to let them know, hey, we know you're there. Hey, pull number 4. Why? Well, they're right there. If they move left or right, we got them. Why don't you pull one and let's start making some noise and see if they realize they're doomed. There you go. Yeah, just a message for you, boys. We know right where you are. The noisemaker's right over your head. Oh, that's too bad. Why don't you see if you can go somewhere? We won't mind. Go ahead and try. Oh, well, he didn't go anywhere. So anyway, let's see, other communications issues. Well, right now, for whatever reason, and again, I know this happens because I've been telling you about it, over at Facebook Marketplace, there has been a flurry of marine radios. Now, there was also a bunch of boats, and there have been a bunch of freebie boats that have been coming through. So what I'm thinking is it's the end of the season. People don't want to get taxed on top of everything else. But there are a bunch of marine radios that have been popping up for under $40. Some are, in the box. Some are not in the box. These are basically CB-size radio like a mid-duck box size system. They are good pieces of equipment. Half of them that I have found, we're here in Michigan, so we're in the middle of the Great Lakes, and there's lots of boats around here that get disassembled, but I've noticed that if you go over towards Pennsylvania, tons of them there because you got Lake Erie, you got the St. Lawrence, etc. Plenty of other lakes in Pennsylvania the same way. And right now there is a bunch of marine radio with antennas. All you do is hook them up to a 12-volt power supply, and you have yourself a really cool tool, okay, a communications device. And I recommend marine radio. I really, 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 really do. Can't stress it enough. So if you get a chance, take the time, plug in, and run with that puppy, okay? If you're going to do marine, get two radios, obviously. But remember, if you're doing a vehicle, I'd still be doing CB. If you've got marine, you do CB. You hook the rest of the technology up that's useful. And what you've got is a multi-frequency option so that if it looks like CB's cluttered up, or let's say that you want to be putting battle frequencies for one in one area, contact or medical frequencies in another, you will choose that based upon your area, your interest in operations when the time comes. Guess what? It's not that hard to do. And once you've plugged everything in and you've got your SOP, you've got yourself a pretty decent solution. Now, marine, one thing about marine is a lot of the marine radios are already repeater capable, okay? I can't stress that enough. There's a lot of them from, I would say, about, 15 to 20 years ago. From then on, the lion's share are repeatable. And what that means is what we've done in the past, what we did in the 90s, for instance, is we could take a radio and have it in Monroe, Michigan. That radio could talk anywhere across Lake Erie, all the way into Canada, all the way down into Ohio. But we could bounce from there over to just the east side of Lansing, Michigan. We want to get around Lansing. Lansing is a big communications hub, just like most big cities. So if you can get around those obstacles, you're going to have a lot less fuzz and background noise. We then would repeat from that location, by the way, which is Camp Stassa, for those of you who don't remember. And then we would jump up to Traverse City, and then from Traverse City, we would usually bounce up to the Keweenaw. So we could literally cover the length of the state of Michigan with 4 radio systems. 5 if we wanted to, jump, say, off over to the side of Lake Michigan and then up to Traverse, which was just for the sake of involving more people in the repeater process. But what was neat about these is, again, the idea that with 4 radios, I can talk to a very long state, as long as Florida, actually. If you don't think so, go take a look at the length of Florida, then take a look at the length of Michigan, from the bottom of Michigan to the Keweenaw, to the top of the Keweenaw Peninsula. Understand we got to drive across the bridge and then go west. We don't go straight up, so it's not a straight shot. Look at the distances involved. Pretty impressive. And our radio technology more than caught up with that 25 and 30 years ago. Today, we can obviously incorporate many, many, many more radios into a repeater grid and branch off, in any direction we choose to, okay? That's not a problem. The big thing here is, again, picking a system and committing to it, and whether or not you're going to be part of the repeater system or just using conventional transmission, that's a personal flavor choice. But I recommend that, again, you get a marine radio system, get a couple of them. There are many out there that are laying around. Let me give you an example. In fact, I'm looking at some right here, but I'm in the bottom of the state of Michigan. And marine radio, I'm just going to do just a standoff search right now and see what pops up. And we have what I would say probably there's 100 or so posted, including the newer handhelds. I'm not excited about the smaller ones. They are good enough for mobile use. In fact, over in Albion, Michigan, the guy's got 2 of them for $30, Uniden Atlantis models. Now, I will point out that the reason you usually find clumps of radios together, for those who haven't been listening to the program for a while, or if you've not been on a boat, older boats used the marine radio as a combination of radio, but also a PA system or on-site aboard boat communications grid. And there'd be one by the flying bridge, there'd be one down in the sealed bridge, there'd be one in the cruise quarters, there would be one in the galley area, depending how big the boat is, or more. So a lot of times, like there's one package here, it looks like there's 4 or 5 radios, probably all came off the same little yacht, and they're all Unidens, and include speakers, cabling, antennas, $200. So there's stuff out there right now. And then, of course, you can buy brand new, Cobra VHF marine radios, handhelds. I mean, you can spend any money you want. That's $80 for a Cobra. But that's a much, much newer piece of equipment. And to be quite honest, most of what you really want, you want the older CB type technology. And the reason I bring that up is because it's easily understood. If you have multiple radios in service, one of the biggest problems you're going to have, even with this idea, is you're going to have a few things you're going to have to learn about the marine radio for service and use, okay? But they're not complicated, and they're no more complicated, truly, than the standard CB radio that most of you have used or grew up with or whatever. So you're not going to really have that tough a time. The big thing is that there are other overlapping pieces of equipment. There are some that are multi-band radios. That's something everybody always asks. Well, why don't we just get something that does everything? Let me repeat what I have said many times. I understand the idea of one radio doing everything, and in fact, if it was maybe man-portable, sure, that's an option. Limited space, that would be another consideration. But otherwise, here's something to remember. If all of your radio work is in one rig, and that one rig goes down, you aren't talking to anybody. You understand that? You're not talking to anybody. You're finished. You're out of business. On the other hand, if you have inexpensive and reasonably priced complete radio systems like a separate CB, a separate marine radio, a separate 2-meter system, the advantage is, there's actually more than one here, by the way. Number one, if one radio goes down, the rest are still serviceable. So one way or another, you can get a signal or a message out to someone in your grid, whatever your system is that you've set up. Number two, if you have 3 radios, you can also put 3 different ROs, radio operators, one on each rig, and each can be handling a certain aspect of your signal communications needs, especially if you are some kind of straw boss, commander, coordinator, whatever your title is, as far as being in charge. Having one RO taking care of 3 different rigs isn't your first best choice, but instead, even if it's nothing more than holding a mic and responding to communications with one radio, having a person handle that problem. Out of maybe 4 people that are in a vehicle, with drivers going down the road, you have 3 other people available. Each person gets a radio mission. Congratulations. Now, there isn't going to be any intercept wasted time where you've got to, hold on, I got to talk another radio. Hold on, I got to talk another radio. Oh, wait a minute, I got to go back to number 1. Oh, hold on. No, instead, each radio could function independently and can operate for its own purpose and mission without interference. See how that works? And again, proper planning prevents piss-poor performance. I'll give you an example here. Let me go over prices. Somebody's asking about, well, what are we looking at cost-wise? Clarion Marine Radio, complete, just one radio, just one marine radio, $10. It's a CB-sized, fixture-mounted, dash-mounted, deck-mounted system. Marine radio, in this case, Uniden, $50. Uniden VHF marine radio, a little earlier, I'd say probably from the late 90s, $35. Sony marine radio, $40. Jensen MDM 300 marine radio with speakers and additional components, $75. RCI marine radio with antenna, $40. That's actually a good price, and that's a nice rig. We've used a lot of these. I haven't seen any up for a while either. I got to make a note. Forgive me, I have to tag that one. That's maybe going to be mine. We'll see what happens. That's at Lake City, by the way. Police scanner and marine radio, $50. Pioneer Marine Set radio, 2 radios, $50. Radio Shack ham radio HTX 212. Not a bad little rig, actually. We have quite a few of those. And again, scanners, etc. So again, when you do a search, you're going to also run into brand new. In fact, here we go. There's another one. Actually, there's 3 radios here that are available for a total of probably They're all sister Uniden radios. Uniden UM380. There's 3 different listings for 3 different locations, 3 totally different people. $30, $25, and the most expensive, no, the other one's $30 also. How do you like that? All exactly the same radio, 3 different sources. And again, if you look around, you never know what you're going to find. Now, I would point something out about handhelds. Okay, this is something we have discussed many times on the air. A lot of your radios, up until recently, well, first of all, years ago, this was not the case. They were simpler. Then they got, as more money was out there, and the Chinese started to make more stuff for people, plus also Hong Kong and the Japanese. Proprietary batteries to make the radios run longer or be more efficient became the norm. That's nice as long as they make the proprietary battery. What I mean by proprietary is the battery is actually the whole back of the radio. You buy a whole replacement back or a whole replacement module that goes in. It doesn't look like a AA, AAA, or whatever, although typically they are some other standard battery, but not always. And because they're proprietary, if you don't buy the spares, when you buy the new radios, you may not find those proprietary batteries later on, which means you're going to have to either adapt something or you're going to be selling them to somebody else because you can't find any batteries. You can still find power supplies, which you typically get with the radio to plug it into your dash or to plug it into the wall. But these little handhelds, this is why, well, there is another option, is you can buy add-on power packs that will adapt. They're a little bulkier, and they'll actually receive AAA or AA batteries. And you better buy one. If you buy a radio that has proprietary batteries, you want to see if you can find in the industry a replacement conventional regular AA or AAA battery pack that will plug right into the back that'll match up for power. I am serious about this. Most common mistake made. I got a great buy. I've done it myself. I have 3 radios right now that I did buy spare battery backs for because we knew that they were an end-of-the-run sale. They were already, remember, it was about 2 years ago. They actually put these on a great price. I mean, it was like 1/3 what they were, probably because the batteries were long in the tooth because it was the end of the cycle for those batteries. They were brand new, unissued. But when I bought the radios, I paid 1/4 what I normally pay for replacement battery packs because that battery pack was not going to be the one they were going to with the next model. When that happens, buy the snot out of those things. Just, take care of it and put it all together in a bag, a kit, or whatever, so that you don't lose track of where everything is. Keep them all together. Even if you don't use them right now, remember when you plug them in, and even if the batteries are tired or have a problem with storage, you have 2 or 3 batteries that you can run for maybe half the time you normally would, but you can run them, okay? And you can charge the others while you're running the one that does work, and then the other one doesn't work as well, you run that one, but you can keep talking, okay? So don't say someone didn't tell you about this when down the road you might experience it, because I just did, and I've done it more than a few times on the air. Now, another thing, one nice thing about console systems, or, in other words, rack-mounted, whatever you got, or under the dash mounted, is that, again, they will mount anywhere, and typically they are 12-volt. In fact, I don't know of any that are 24, none, at least not any modern stuff. Example, right, in fact, here's another one, really pretty. Oh, wow, actually, too far away, though. Yeah, it's a... While it is a Horizon, basically that's a Uniden, for somebody who just pointed that out. If you take a look at the Uniden radio and take a look at the Horizon Marine, look at where the knobs are, look at where the controls are, compare the face, and you'll see what I'm talking about. They might change up the grill a little bit, but they didn't change up where the controls are or even what the controls do. And that's because they bought a package radio. That's not a problem. That's a great thing. Right here, for instance, $45, brand new in the box. Brand new radio in the box. And the price is right. So there's an example of what you can do. Don't tell me you can't afford it. You're just going to have to do make the effort, let your fingers do the walking through the internet pages, okay? Some are as little as $10, $20, and again, a lot of those you're going to find, well, typically half of these were pulled out of boats where somebody, sold the boat, or they, were going to sell the boat, so they took everything out, and now they're selling off the components, or they bought it and never put it in, and they sold the boat, or aren't planning on using it. Maybe they went to something else. Happens a lot, so not a problem. Take advantage of it. This is a way for you to be up and online within a short period of time with all the communications tech you need. Another thing, FRS radios starting to get thin. This is one thing I was checking in the last couple of days. I've done searches wee hours of the morning, and FRS radios, as far as inexpensive, this is like what happened about 4 years ago. The stuff that was in the little bubble plastic hangers at the truck stops and whatever, when they went, they weren't replaced. One of the reasons, as we pointed out, the industry is soft as far as capital. Now, we're in the same situation right now, and we're seeing this with spice on the shelf. We're seeing this next with cat food and dog food. I warned you about this before. This is already happening in several other categories. Well, electronics are no different, and electronics are a weird bird. A lot of what you buy, even the stuff that I'm talking about here, is actually, percentage is made up from American or old other industry leftovers. I know it sounds weird, but in reality, a lot of the electronic components are, somebody does a big, massive run, a top company name does, and they finish at a certain point, and their estimation of sales are one thing, their actual sales are another. So they end up with all these components. Now, if they can, they're going to integrate that component and systems or even sub-assemblies over into the next generation of radio, or it could be a scanner, or it could be night vision for that matter. Well, they decided not to even do that. In fact, they've decided to throw their hands up in the air. They don't really want to do any of that. So what they do is they put it out in the kind of like the rent-a-revolution market for electronics, and all the components are bought and start going into another piece of equipment. In many cases, a lot of the electronic components that you are running into with present-day radios is actually anywhere from 10 to 15 to 20-year-old technology. It just keeps getting shifted sideways and sideways. The value of a resistor doesn't change. The value of a capacitor doesn't change. The value on a diode doesn't change. It's also true of the larger components or even whole sub-assemblies, so it saves them having to engineer something. They'll take another system where there's 100,000 or 150,000 brand new in the box, like little widget, circuit systems. It could be an onboard sound synthesizer or something like that, little circuit, side circuit, maybe takes up 7, 10 components. You weld that on, solder it onto the box, just wherever the prongs are lined up with the circuit board you built. Congratulations, it saves you having to do anything else. That happens a lot with this equipment. So you're not necessarily getting brand new. You're getting new old inventory, overlapping new inventory, overlapping, a different covered box in the front, like I told you, a different grill to make you think you got something newer. And in reality, it's overlapping technology from the last 30 to 35 and even 40 years old, to be quite honest. The big thing here, if it's well made, it doesn't make any difference if they thought it through. The biggest problem you're going to have with most of your newest electronic technology is the motherboards are being made crappy and thin. Keyword thin, which then makes them crappy. Let's put that in proper perspective, okay? A lot of radios that you get, brown box, where you had them at the truck stops, the reason that they were sent back or brought back on warranty and why they had to redo them is because the companies went with a cheaper material, both in thickness and quality of product for the motherboards, and a part breaks. And they literally have to disassemble, reassemble, and put the thing back in, or take the chassis, maybe use it again, or they have to replace those components that were weak in engineering design from the get-go. And that's where a lot of these brown box / reprocessed radios come from, like the Kenwoods and the Atlantics. There's a bunch of others that show up at the truck stops, Cobras even, every once in a while. And you'll see they have 20, 30, 40, 50 of them, and they're a great price. They have been rebuilt, okay, based on the idea that they now realize where the weak point is. They reinforce it, they reconstruct it accordingly, and then they get on with getting the rest of the mission done, get it sold. Okay, so that's one of the reasons that, again, everybody needs to pay attention to the product, okay? But also don't worry too much about what it is you're pulling off the shelf. Don't panic too much if you find out certain things after the fact. Somebody's asking about CBs. CBs are the same way. All of these radio technology, it's kind of like let's sideswipe here in another direction to help you understand. All of you have heard about digital night vision, and we've talked about this for quite a few years. When Don was alive, he explained to you, and I've discussed this from the electronic standpoint. You can build this yourself, digital night vision. Basically, you might recall when you had VHS cameras. Some VHS cameras could be filming at like dusk, and it'd be like they were literally working with, like they had broadcast studio lighting. Everything when you went to look at it, it's like, man, I didn't think it was that bright outside. Oh, it wasn't. It was twilight. What it is that there are fewer filters on the collectors, on the collecting lens and system for helping to reduce brightness during the day. A lot of times when this happened, the units actually had more adjustability, and you could literally open them up or close them accordingly, close the system, down, shut it down, its collection potential. Now, here's the thing. What they basically did to create digital is they took all these old pieces of equipment, like for 8mm cameras, even VHS technology, which, by the way, VHS, 8mm, all of the others, they overlap, they all ran from one to the next to the next. Like I told you, old, new inventory for components. Well, what they did is they took all the filters off of the camera systems, including some of the newer, or I should say first, second, or third generation digital still cameras, which, by the way, had, remember, video capability. Oh, yeah, remember they could do so many minutes of video recording, and then you could download it or whatever. Well, guess what? If you're going direct feed and watching it, using it for night vision, then you don't have to worry about any memory on board. But they typically, by the way, do, don't they? They have memory. They take one of these digital cameras, take all the filters off in the factory, brand new, when they pull them out of the little box, the little cargo shipping box that usually would go to the production line. And when they're done, what they have is a digital night vision device. All they have to do is make a hole for it. Binoculars, they do monoculars. They're all basically still the same thing. In fact, if it's a set, it's two of the units side by side. In some cases, they do a prism set. You're just seeing the same image in two different reflectors, and it's actually just one collector that's running, creating the illusion of a binocular system. But there are some that are truly two different digital cameras side by side. That's all it is. In fact, if you go to YouTube, just as a heads up, older technology, taking these old digital cameras, there are several young individuals and older who have disassembled, and they go step by step. They'll show you what to do and how to make it happen, how to do what we're talking about at home. So in reality, we could take most of the digital cameras we have and make digital night vision for support or for alternate use down the road if we were, if enough bombs drop, there won't be any more night vision coming from anywhere. So whoever can adapt and overcome can probably win the day and the battlefield in general. Yeah, prior proper planning prevents piss-poor performance, as we've said many times. So, again, ideas, not just complaining about the problems, but the technologies, understand it. The most important thing is power supply. If you got a handheld and it does have a proprietary battery, you need to hunt them down right now, and you need to pick up spares if you're going to stick with that radio. Now, if you're not going to stick with that radio, I still get a few, and if you're going to relegate it to reserve use because you realize what Mark's talking about, there might be a problem down the road, just remember that you can still use the units with a wall plug. Even if the battery goes down, they can still do direct feed power, or you can plug them in with a cigarette lighter or with the USB connectors, whatever you got, depending on what car you got, and plug it into the dash and use it there. So you don't have to chuck them out, and never think that way. We can always adapt a power supply. That's another thing that we haven't talked about yet, and you don't need to think about right away, but let's plant that seed in the back of your mind. Remember, if you know what the power need is, then it's a matter of finding a wall wart that somebody has cast away. Always save the old wall warts, don't throw them away, because a lot of them have variable power output. A lot of them have different potential. Some are 6.5 volts, some are 2.3 volts, some are 8 volts, some are up and down the scale. And you don't, even if you are rated for, say, a certain requirement, you can run on less power. You just won't have the range. It also won't hurt the system per se. It's just remember that you're limited, but you can live with that. Again, it's better than shouting, which you don't want to do. Now, we're almost to the top of the hour here. Another thing, speakers. Now, the speakers are cool, okay, having a speaker for a radio, but something one of our callers brought up about sound discipline, okay. The biggest problem with having a speaker permanently hooked up that is an additional or supplemental general broadcast for, like, say, in a vehicle, is remembering to shut it off if you've gone tactical. This is where booby mistakes are made, so you always have to be thinking, do you have an SOP for inspecting or operating equipment? This means you need to remind everybody that if we are in a tactical situation and we are tactically dispersed, non-compressed sound, or systems that do not have earbuds, earmuffs, boom mics, you contain the system, contain the broadcast, so it's limited. If you don't have something like that, you're planning on squawking, on a large off a main speaker, just remember that it's going to kind of be heard by a lot of other people, depending on what time of day it is. Sound travels farther at night. Dropping everything down to, low volume is an option, but remember it's nicer to have a headset system of some kind. You could have a handheld mic and a headset specifically for listening, basically an old stereo system. There are a number of options. You'll find that different radios have different connects, so that's the only problem. You got to find something where you can, link both up. And not all of them have that option. Some of the older radios actually use just conventional what would be stereo headsets combined with the standard microphone. They usually have a jack. The jack can be large format, mid format, or small pin. Depends on what year. And even with the new ones, I've noticed that there's quite a mix. So this is where you need to do a little research, figure out what works on your equipment. If you're going to use a speaker, I understand why. Hey, everybody used to have a base station, always used to put a supplemental speaker on the radio. And in a base station, really, would it make any difference? No, not for the most part. But remember that if we get into a little more intense environment, we're going to start working with light discipline and noise discipline to a greater degree. Kind of like running a chainsaw, okay? It's better to have your wood cut and everything squared away now rather than running a chainsaw in the middle of winter when somebody's going, hey, somebody's cutting wood. That means there's somebody over there alive and breathing. Hey, maybe I should go see what they're doing with their chainsaw and what else they have that maybe they're putting wood in. They might have food because they're cooking food. At the very least, they're warm. Zombies. Remember, unthinking, unknowing, and impossible to take care of themselves zombies will be very dangerous down the road. Frothing at the mouth as they are in the street, just imagine them in a later situation. It will be much, much, much worse. You will not like what you discover then. Ew, zombies. So we need to be thinking ahead. And don't forget, when you're cooking, you know what? Your sense of smell when you're starving goes really right through the roof. You're actually tasting when you're smelling. You do know that, right? So let's remember that if you are producing food and, somebody is hungry, there's another thing that will bring the zombie out and bring the zombies zeroed in on you. So you need to take these things into consideration in advance. How will you deal with this to create operational security, including preventing smell-o-vision from working? I can picture the porridge. Well, we're eating his oatmeal. Yeah, and in their mind, they almost look at it as steak, especially if you're starving. Oatmeal would be just like steak, okay, when you're starving. Just something to think about there. So, we're almost to the top. I will remind everybody also that, hold on here, let's get this right. I got to move a few things around. Before I go any farther, and again, Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist for the technologies we were talking about. Facebook Marketplace, that's one of the several locations you can go. But in addition, let's not forget, we have, of course, the red, blue, green dot sighting optic system. We have been shipping out, and of course, everybody keep an eye on your mailbox because there's stuff in the mail. We also had a couple of letters that came in. We had orders there. Those are gone and out, so you got to watch your mailbox now. Some are fairly close, some a little farther away. In fact, I think we literally covered all points of the country with what we've already sent out. So everybody will probably be a smattering. Here's what I want. If you get that and you plug it in, you're going to like it. Try it out and let us know how it worked for you. I've just found out somebody else just had a big write-up on this particular site. And again, in fact, they're saying this is what you need on your gun. So I won't be surprised if the supplier gets hit hard with regard to what's left of the inventory, because there have been a series of commercial write-ups, which is always the case whenever it goes into some kind of magazine or article, even in social media. It doesn't take long for everybody to zero in and hawk on the target. So we can expect that. In fact, we're down to 50%. I just want to check the numbers. We're half of where we were when they started, and the numbers are going quick. So for all of you who got them, congratulations. We will probably be ordering more. We do have some left, which, again, I'm going to offer right now. The Axion Optic Solutions 3XRDS red, green, blue dot sight. This is a donation to help support Liberty Tree Radio. $23 a unit, and if you want to add a few dollars in there for shipping, great, but $23 a unit, that's what we're offering base, and you can buy as many as you want for now. I will tell you when we can't get any more. In fact, I'll be very quick on that, because when these are gone, as far as this jobber goes, this wholesaler I'm dealing with, I know there won't be any more. This has been consistent in the industry. They got hold of these, I think, as a fluke. They were on the front of the waiting list, and they snagged them. They have no other optics, and this company has done this for many, many years. I've dealt with them for quite a while, and they're out of everything else. Okay, now I'm not pressing you on that. I'm just giving you an idea how the industry is, because this is happening with spices. This is happening with ammunition. Everything is like this right now. It's going to get worse, not better. But Axion, AXEON, Optic Solutions 3XRDS red, green, blue dot. There are 3 different color settings, and there are 3 illumination settings for each color. So you can go, small, medium, large, bright, as far as brightness goes, or, you take your pick away you want to describe that. 1, 2, 3. Anyway, they're $23 a piece. Go to libertytreeradio.4mg.com. Go to the donate key. Donate any amount. Or that's where you want to go, is to donate any amount. $23 per unit. If you want more than one, that's not a problem. But let us know how many you want, because some people have donated more money to support Liberty Tree Radio. This is for supporting LTR. But let us know how many you want, and you've got to post a mailing address in the comment section. Okay, make sure you post an existing mailing address where you want these boxes to go. They'll get there, but we got to have a place to send it. And that is Axion Optic Solutions 3XRDS red, green, blue dot site, $23 a unit, and go to libertytreeradio.4mg.com, libertytreeradio.4mg.com. And when you get there, go to the donate key. There's one at the top in the middle of the band, and there's one off to the right, which is a separate freestanding key. They'll get you to the same place. Donate any amount when you get there. Then post how many do you want. Again, also make sure you have a mailing address, and we'll take care of the rest. And we'll figure out the math from there. If you want 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, make sure you give us a notation there, because we did have more than a few that went out to one location, and it was kind of an overlap with 2 different orders too. So the good thing is that the one was right behind the other, which I guess somebody finally figured out, well, I need more of those because those are really cool. They are actually a pretty decent little site. Everybody that's put them on their weapons loves them, especially around here, because we, again, as soon as somebody knew we had them, they grabbed a whole pile of them, and they're putting them on the weapons immediately, and they've been experimenting. So it does what it's supposed to do. They're so simple, it's ridiculous. There is nothing you really write about. You can go take a look at the image. Again, it's Axion Optic Solutions 3XRDS red, green, blue .site. You can also send a check or money order to PBN P.O. Box 194, Dexter, Michigan 48130. Make sure you print the mailing address in the request in the envelope. $23 per unit. Make the check or money order out to Nancy, last name Koernke. Nancy, Koernke. However many you want, we need to know as soon as possible. I'm probably going to order another 36 if everything goes well. And again, if you want to order 2 or 3 at a time, it's up to you, whatever you want to do there. If you find out you like it, you might want to follow up with another order. Go take and price these things. You'll see what I'm talking about. This is a very good price. It's a one-time deal. We don't do it. When we do find stuff like this, I try to pass it on. But in this case, it's also to help out Liberty Tree Radio. So you're making a donation, and it's helping the network and helping yourself at the same time. Axion Optic Solutions 3XRDS green, red, blue .site. We're going to get out of the way here. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to, we got a break. And then we're going to come right back. God bless our republic.
Death to the New World Order.
We shall prevail, ladies and gentlemen. The empire is on the run.
And we're on the march both day and night.
Hoorah. Kick them to slats, beat them down hard. Don't let them get back up. And when they try, beat them again. Just make sure we bend them the right way and they just don't come back. We'll be back here in a few minutes. Second hour of the Intel Report coming up. It is Communications Tuesday.
Plant the seed in our homeland, boys. Let it grow where all can see. Feed it with our devotion, boys. Call it the Liberty Tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Save it from the storm, boys. Water down its roots with tea. And the sun will always shine on the old Liberty Tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. March along with the piper, boys. We were born forever free. Let's go pay the piper, boys, beneath the Liberty Tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Pay the price they're asking, boys. Always pay the tyrant's fee. Never give up the struggle, boys. Fight for the Liberty Tree. It's a
Join Mark and Don for Weapons Wednesday, where you'll learn how to use everything from your bare hands to your average AR-15.
The 12-gauge autoloader,
Sure.
the 45 long slide
Yep.
with laser sighting,
You betcha.
the Uzi 9mm
Yes, sir.
based plasma rifle in the 40-watt range.
What are you, crazy?
Wrong.
Okay, they'll talk about that too. So whatever question you have about whatever weapon you have, call Mark and Don on Weapons Wednesday. And remember, your mind is your first best weapon.
We all need to prepare ourselves. You might have the food, water, gold, and silver, but ask yourself, are you truly prepared? That's why you need to visit MaineMilitary.com. MaineMilitary.com carries everything you need. Gas masks, fire starter kits, high-capacity magazines, chemical suits, military surplus items, and much more. Do you own a firearm? MaineMilitary.com has a large selection of pistols and rifles suited for your needs. Are your local stores sold out of ammunition? Call or visit them today for prices on hard-to-find ammo and bulk ammo orders. You don't need to worry about having a military surplus store in your area because MaineMilitary.com is the only store you'll ever need, all from the comfort of your computer. Visit them online today at MaineMilitary.com. That's Maine, like the state, military.com.
Liberty's Guardian, Guns and Ammunition, a family-owned business located in the heart of Ohio's hunting country. Let us help you find the right shotgun or rifle for you. Or if you're looking for a pistol or concealed carry, we have a nice selection of compact and subcompact pistols for that too. Check out our website at www.libertiesguardian.com. That website again is www.libertiesguardian.com. Go to the website and check out our selection today.
I had a dream the other night that, well, I didn't understand. A figure walked in through the mist with a flintlock in his hand. His clothes were torn and dirty as he stood there by my bed. He took off his three-cornered hat, and speaking low to me, he said, "We fought a revolution to secure our liberty. We wrote the Constitution as a shield from tyranny. For future generations, this legacy we gave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. The freedoms we secured for you, we hoped you'd always keep. But tyrants labored endlessly while your parents were asleep. Your freedom's gone, your courage lost. You're no more than a slave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. You buy permits to travel and permits to own a gun, permits to start a business or to build a place for one. On land that you believe you own, you pay a yearly rent, although you have no voice in saying how the money's spent. Your children must attend a school that doesn't educate, and your Christian values can't be taught according to the state. You read about the current news in a regulated press, and you pay a tax you do not owe to please the IRS. Your money is no longer made of silver nor of gold. You trade your wealth for paper so your life can be controlled. You pay for crimes that make our nation turn from God and shame. You've taken Satan's number. You've traded in your name. You've given government control to those who do you harm so they could burn down churches and seize the family farm and keep our country deep in debt, put men of God in jail, harass your fellow countrymen while corrupted courts prevail. Your public servants don't uphold the solemn oaths they've sworn, and your daughters visit doctors so their children won't be born. Your leaders send artillery and guns to foreign shores and send your sons to slaughter fighting other people's wars. Can you regain the freedoms for which we fought and died? Or don't you have the courage or the faith to stand with pride? And are there no more values for which you'll fight to save? Or do you wish your children to live in fear and be a slave? O sons of the Republic, arise, take a stand, defend the Constitution, the supreme law of the land. Preserve our great republic and each God-given right. And pray to God to keep the torch of freedom burning bright. As I awoke, he'd vanished in the mist from whence he came. His words were true. We are not free, but we have ourselves to blame. For even now as tyrants trample each God-given right, we only watch and tremble, too afraid to stand and fight. If he stood by your bedside in a dream while you were asleep and wondered what remains of the freedoms he'd fought to keep, what would be your answer if he called out from the grave? Is this still the land of the free and home of the brave? God bless you, and God bless this republic.
And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the second hour of the afternoon intelligence report. I'm Mark Kornke. One day closer to victory for all of our brothers and sisters, both on and behind the lines in occupied territories, Southwest, North, Northeast, and East. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to us on Libertytreeradio.4mg.com, Liberty Tree Radio on YouTube, live stream, and we are on AM and FM micro stations, CB base stations, and UltraNet, Hallmark, and Golden Spike technologies east and west of the Mississippi, along with Alaska. Good afternoon to all of our friends out there in lower 49, including the great state of Jefferson, CONUS, the outlying two states, territories, and the clock. 6:11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is Tuesday, Communications Tuesday, 22nd of September, 12th year of open Fabian Socialist and Soviet Socialist occupation of America with a K. And again, I want to say hi to Michelle, Ann, Eric, Justin, Heather, Raymond, Jason, Christina L., and Christopher B. And I want to say thank you. We appreciate you guys pitching in with the new Micro FM grid. And for Christopher B., who's one of the coordinators, I understand, as I mentioned earlier, I think it's Eric. I could be wrong, Eric. Mr. Carr is the gentleman who is the two coordinators of the project. So you guys are now one of the new FM micro grids, local. And everybody takes turn being a DJ, I understand, too, which is cool. That's what we do with our alternate communications technology. Have fun. Have fun and do the work that needs to be done. Edward, if you could, up in Kenosha from the beginning. I love the little, you remember you gotta have a little small firefight in the beginning. You hear the small arms fire. Up in Kenosha, again, repost. This is, again, over on YouTube. For all of you guys out there listening, we got to try and get it into, we're going to get into the schedule again. Hans, the MG42 Gunner channel is where you will find this. It's over on YouTube. It's posted as Up in Kenosha, Kenosha, bracket, repost bracket, and repost as in they put it up in another location just to make sure that it didn't get lost. And again, you'll recognize the music. You'll recognize the background. You'll even recognize the intro. But it is a reworded piece of music that is very apropos. Oh, pardonnez-moi. I'm speaking the French again. I'm going to drink some wine, eat some cheese with a little bit of fromage, and then surrender. That's what we do. But in this case, it is very apropos. And it's Up in Kenosha. Up in Kenosha. Hans, the MG42 Gunner, is the channel. And, Hans, not Dieter, Hans, H-A-N-S, Hans, the MG42 Gunner. So when we get a chance, we'll hopefully be pulling into that. And in the meantime, again, Communications Tuesday, one more time, everybody's asking, where were we finding all those listings? Over at Facebook Marketplace, but Craigslist does have a similar posting. But Facebook, when you go over to Facebook, if you ignore Facebook, get over on Facebook or have one person on Facebook just so you can go over to Facebook Marketplace. On the top of the page, when you go over to Facebook, how do we do this? Let's see if I can do it right. Anyway, I'm going to have to do, hold on here. When you go over to Facebook, okay, Farcebook as we call it, Farcebook, that's Facebook, www. If you're trying to get to Facebook, this is communications, so we're going to walk you through this. When you get over to Facebook, in the middle of the page, on the top, you see, first of all, off to the left, there's a little house, and then you see a flag. Then in the middle, there are 5 icons. One looks like a dog's paw, but it actually is like, one person with 2 other people behind it for groups. In the middle is what looks like a little storefront, like the Antifa, the commies that Farcebook loves, the storefronts that they've been burning down and busting up, okay? And so as it stands, if you go there, you're going to it's going to show up with a cornucopia of things based on, your location to begin with. If you look, there is a search, it says Search Marketplace, where you can actually figure out what you want to search. You can say freebies, which I always do. I always check the freebies, tons and tons of freebie stuff. But you can also save. You have notifications by category. But you also have range. So once you say pick out what it is you want, you notice it down where it says filters. You'll have your location, and then it says within so many miles. In this case, right now, it's set for 10 miles, okay? So with that being the case, anything within about a 10-mile shield, a circle, it's going to probably be posted. I would warn you when you do the search, you want to start out close. You want to start out within 1 or 2 miles. Why? Because it is in a circular area around your location. Once you go farther away, with each step of 10 miles, the center is lost. You will see this when you actually are playing with Facebook, Farcebook Marketplace. example, I'm going to drop down to I'll do a 2 mile, because 2 miles still pretty much the core is there. And then I'm going to apply. And when I do 2 miles out, I've got helicopters, free fluorescent lights, Coleman camp stove, a Coleman cooler, Troy-built weed trimmer. That's a drone, attack drone helicopter or aircraft motor, by the way. That's why I grab all the weed whips. When the time comes, a little PVC pipe, a little bit of a homemade cheapy prop, and it's a one-way buzz bomb outbound. Yeah. There you go. See how that works? Anyway, there's any number of different things locally. You can, whatever you want to search for, you can search for. Car parts. Right now, somebody's got a whole bunch of Silverado parts for the trucks we use. And you'll also find other equipment and technology out there the same way. So, again, communications, radio, tools, parts, pieces and assemblies, ladders, boats, lots of boats right now, as I mentioned earlier in the first hour. That's over at Facebook Marketplace. Yes, and camouflage, and clothing, and armor, all kinds of stuff. I've gotten helmets out of here for nothing. I mean, literally, Kevlar helmets for nothing. So it's definitely worthwhile to check out. And that is at Facebook Marketplace. When you go to Facebook, like I said, in the middle of the top of the page, you got a little house, you got a flag, right in the middle is what looks like another house, but it's a storefront. That's where you want to go, and then look to see what they have available from there. And it can be wood. By the way, right now, tons of parts, including unique parts for certain things you might be interested in to go boom in the night. Purely a matter, again, of how motivated you are to read between the lines, so to speak. There are interesting ways that things are posted there, too, by the way. So it is definitely worthwhile. Anyway, and also you're looking for a beater truck like we were talking about. Okay, let me give you an example here real quick. I'm going to go with Silverado. Might as well. Let's go with Silverado or a Suburban. No, let's do a Suburban attack vehicle. How's that sound? We're going to do a Suburban. So we got Suburban, and I'm looking for, let's go with a dollar amount. How much can Mark afford? Well, I can only afford $1,000. So let's see if anything pops up that would be worthwhile for $1,000. Hey, 1999 Chevy Suburban, runs, not even bad rust for Michigan. Hey, that's kind of unusual. Does need brake line work, though. Oh, well, it starts and it goes, but it won't stop. Well, that's kind of fun to watch going down the road. Anyway, there's a beater truck right there. There's a beater Suburban. Take and do whatever you want with it. For less than that, $800, Silverado pickup truck, Garden City, $375, Rusty. Hey, there's a real beater for you, okay? Also, again, you will find parts if you're looking for parts. So that's the other half of the battle is, what are you looking for in the way of parts, pieces, and assemblies? You can end up with a wreck for a pretty good price. I mean, wreck to buy for spare parts. And start peeling off of that. That's something that a lot of the guys are doing, especially with the square bodies. Up here, we've got all kinds of stuff that's useful, but the bodies are rusted out. The square body trucks down in Texas and down south in, like, say, Georgia, don't have any rust, but they've probably got miles, and usually they need replacement parts. Guess what? Blend the two. A lot of guys are bringing the bodies up from down south. They're putting all the useful engines and stuff under the hood. And congratulations, now you've got a complete vehicle, but you minimize the cost and there's no rust, and so you're really a happy camper then. That is one of the options that you can do if you're used to turning a wrench and playing with technology. And it's not hard. I mean, it's just a matter, and besides, it's another skill you should be learning anyway. Let's put it that way. Something you need to learn. So let's work at that, okay? Hey, there's my Suburban. All right, that might be mine tomorrow, as a matter of fact. I found another attack Suburban, quite useful for our purposes. We shall see. It's a good thing when I do this on the program. I can't tell you about this. I have to see about finding out about more for myself anyway. So anyway, again, check it out. That's another solution. Pickup trucks, especially a pickup truck for tactical use. It's a mix as far as what you'll find in the Suburbans, especially like right here's one, actually half camouflaged already. Wow, somebody was already camouflaged flames. What the hell? Anyway, $800. There you go. Drives, moves, needs front right caliper, big deal. Takes a few minutes to do that. 4x4, four-wheel drive, and start gussing it up. Like I said, what you want is something you can put it together. You're not going to cry when you lose it, because that's one of the most common mistakes made. Almost spent $50,000, and oh my God, I scratched it. It's a tactical vehicle. Yeah, well, it's going to get more scratched. Oh, man. So it'd be a real good idea if you kind of think it through and figure, let's just run with it the way it is. Find a used piece, put it online. By the way, make all the chrome disappear. Cover that up with paint. Please, okay, please. It's like chrome on the battlefield. Well, I guess it looks really, you leave a good corpse. There we go. Leave a good piece of wreckage. Yeah. Make all the chrome disappear. It gets painted when everything else goes tactical. Always remember that. Or change it out. If you got a really, I'll tell you what, that's a good point. A lot of times when you are tactifying a vehicle, you can find clunker parts out there. And I don't think anybody's thought about doing this that much, but, like somebody needs a new grill for something, and usually that's in pretty good shape on these things. But their grill has got a ding in it, or it's bent or whatever, or it's, the chrome is all mucked up on it, it's flaking, whatever. Well, guess what? Trade. Tell them, hey, I'll tell you what, you bring the old one, I'll give you this one for $20, $30, $40, whatever you decide is a price, good trade. And give me the old one, your old one, and I don't even care if it's got broken parts on it, okay? Because what are you going to do with it? It's going to be tactified. It's going to be camouflaged anyway. So you make money off the parts. It pays for part of the other work. It can pay for your paint, can pay for all the other stuff that you might need to do. If there's anything that you don't need on the vehicle, don't chuck it. Remember, Facebook Marketplace is a sales desk. Take and use it to get rid of stuff that is still serviceable to help cover the cost of the project. Okay, these are all things you should be thinking about. And again, it's not hard to do. This actually is not a bad deal for $800 for a Suburban. Pretty much everything ready to roll. So again, there's an example right there. It's a 90s, late 90s Suburban. But there's a lot of stuff like that that's out there. Now, it's from Michigan, so expect there to be some rust somewhere. If you're getting it from down south, totally different vehicle, totally different world. Okay, just that simple. Another thing, remember, try to do a fleet. If you are starting to look at equipment like this, pick a year, pick a model, and start using that as the center for your operation. Okay? That's just how it works. Okay, we need this, we want this model, this, and this. Okay, there you go. That's what you're looking for. And by the way, remember, you're going to find wrecks the same way where you'll find the spare parts that you need. So you can put together some pretty decent equipment. You also start making it look too pretty and go, man, I don't want to bust this up. I don't want to cover the paint. The metal looks too good, or the paint job looks nice. Well, if that's the case, then I guess you better go find another one. Probably won't do that. Anyway, again, what would you do with a Suburban? Communications vehicle, security vehicle. If it's a beater and you got it for $500, $600, $700, grab yourself a big butt moonroof off one of the or a used hand-me-down off of an old not SUV, an old RV, and make yourself a roof hatch for a gun station. A poor man's Humvee. Think about it that way. That's really how we look at them. It's expendable when the time comes, but it's very, very useful for the time that you're using it. A lot of them you're not going to beat up or break down anyway. There's some really nice stuff out there worth picking up. Check it out. See if it's something that makes sense for you, and ride with it. Example, something I would mention. Oh, there's an avalanche. Boy, they're terrible pictures. What am I supposed to be doing with this? Oh, God. Sometimes you look at stuff and go, oh, that's neat. That's like a front end. And then there's the side. And are those the only two pieces of the vehicle that probably don't have a dent in them? That's probably why. Look, it's got a great-looking grill. Yeah, what did I just say a minute ago? So heads up, stuff like that you're going to run into. That's exactly what you want. It's got beater or dinger sides. If you're looking to build a tactical vehicle, that's fine. Break out the little rubber mallet, get up underneath, smack that little ding back out. Don't even worry about filling it. Why? It's going to get shot. This vehicle is going to get beat on, and pretty doesn't count for anything anyway. And you're going to make it tactically colored, so you don't care. Okay, just something to think about there. It'll look fine. It really will. Just the way it is. Yep. Keep it up. And as a matter of fact, forget that. Okay. Another thing to remember is trailers. We have mentioned this many times. Oh, by the way, it's Communications Tuesday. One of the things that we've done, you take the enclosed half-ton or three-quarter-ton trailers, convert them into a radio van. You hook it up, pull it out to where you want to, drop it. It has self-contained antennas, that are stowed on board. Pull out the antennas, run up the masts, set up your equipment, and leave it behind. Now you've got transport or a yeoman's piece of equipment, a vehicle, and the trailer is carrying all the cargo, all the hard work. If you want to take off or leave or have to, deal with other issues, the technology is in hand. Everything's squared away, ready to go where it needs to be. Also, again, remember, in many cases, you might just figure that, it's expendable, the trailer or the truck, and you're just going to leave it behind accordingly when the time comes, especially if it gets damaged. Remember that. We're not going to risk lives over what is supposed to be a disposable piece of equipment. That's why we're doing this in the first place. Prior proper planning prevents piss-poor performance. So, anyway, there's all kinds of cool stuff there. Enough on that. Facebook Marketplace is self-explanatory. You can go figure it out. You can go do your searches, and you'll go, wow, there's cool stuff, Mark. I want one of those. Yeah, so does everybody. Anyway, hold on here. Let me make sure I tag that, or I'd lose that green Suburban I'm interested in. Anyway, other technology, and again, lighting is another thing real quick that is a simple solution. You can use semaphore technology /light to get a signal across, and so be creative with that and start experimenting now. Now, you don't have to use Morse code. This is something that's the most common mistake made. You do not have to use Morse code in order to get a signal downrange. In fact, you ideally want what is a phonetic code, you're saying one thing, you're doing one thing, and it means something else. You can use even Morse code to be deceptive. This is something most people don't really think about. Yeah, you sent a message and it's spelled out in Morse code, Finkelbein, okay? Well, Finkelbein, I understand. There must be a name. It could be something. It's got to be important. Yes, it is. But Finkelbein doesn't mean anything to anybody except for the person that was supposed to receive the message from, about Finkelbein. When they do see that word, you open up a small text, you go to a particular point, and Finkelbein, there it is. There's the message. That's what it really says. Schmidlap, Finkelbein, provide, up, Nova Scotia, Randy, okay? Well, guess what? I just gave you a whole paragraph worth of information, but it means nothing to anybody. It's just garble on, between A and B. It also means nothing to anybody else who might be listening, no matter who you are on our side. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. Remember? Yeah, that was from D-Day, World War II. And when the message went out, everybody who knew what the message meant understood the time had come. For anybody else listening, it was part of many, many, many messages that were sent out, one after another, one after another, one after another, one after another. Part of broadcasting in the clear, okay? So anyway, with light and semaphore, by the way, flags are also semaphore. That's where when you look up, you usually see that first. But semaphore, using a light system, make sure that everybody understands that everything needs to still be restricted. You need to have good light discipline. We're not trying to light up our target, the area to become a target. In fact, we want to minimize everything. Most people, every time I see and talk to people, I want the biggest, I want it to blare, I want it to make more noise than anybody. That's not what you want with radio communications when it comes to battlefield communique. And that is not what you want with regard to light illumination for messaging. A toilet paper tube wrapped around the front of the front part of the outer circle of the lens of an angle head flashlight. Toilet paper tube, that's long, that's a good one. It could be longer still. You could use a paper towel tube. You point it towards the objective and you minimize the amount of oversplash and wash, and the signal only goes in a particular direction. It doesn't even have a back direction. In other words, like with some technology, if you're lined up like with radio and you use Yagis, you use a directional beam. When you're aiming at something, understand that a percentage of that focus signal is going to go also the opposite direction, 180 degrees. And in other words, A and B, straight in line, front and back. No matter where you swing around, you're going to have that happen. Now with light, as long as you obviously have a light source and you compartmentalize or channel the light, you're not going to get a whole lot of oversplash. And in fact, there are all kinds of things you can do. Let me give you an example. That's why if you have an angle head flashlight, have you ever taken the base out? And there's all these different pieces of plastic. There's blue, there's red, there's green, and there's flat white. It's not clear, it's flat white. What's that for? What's flat white for? Well, it actually does dampen and reduce the wash because, again, the clear lens allows for the raw light to escape. But that opaque one helps to reduce overwash, number one, but especially
signaling.
Yeah, it's designed for directional communications. It's designed for signaling. Now, here's another thing about that. If you have the older angle head flashlights, they just have a regular, like they're an angle head, 90-degree turn, but they have a regular cap on them like any other regular flashlight. You might recall that the big deal back, you probably won't remember, but you guys that are my age will, the big deal is when they made angle head flashlights with the actual wraparound shield like we're talking about built onto the flashlight, like all the ones have behind me right here. They actually, that was not the normal way that an angle head was made, and if you wanted to do what we're talking about, you took a piece of cardboard, wrapped it around, took some duct tape, wrapped that around the cardboard, and you made a directional tube, which we would still do because I want more than I have even with the wraparound shield on these angle head flashlights. I want it to be very, very tight beam because I want only you to see it when I signal 2 miles downrange. Because that light at night will travel that far easily. If I'm in line of sight with you, I can use it, okay? Here's another thing. You've got all these neat optics you're using, including night vision, by the way. For collecting, you use the night vision device so that even if my light is very, very weak, it's still sufficient to send the signal to you using even just regular digital night vision so that you can more efficiently collect the message. Something to think about there. Remember, I can be very dim. The deader my sound, the less sound I make, the less of a target I will be. The less illumination I use, the less likely I will be a target from that direction. This is all part of the process of light and sound discipline. And we've talked about this many times. This is your first priority as a combatant in the field. Minimize, not maximize, minimize. Now, on occasion, you may have to scream to the planet. Well, that's what that power switch is for. But most of the time, I only need to talk, and not even talk. In many cases, it might be a click. It might be a dash. That's all I need in the way of a signal to get to the people that are waiting for it so that they can start firing on something, or they can move on something, confirming that what I expected to do will continue. I give you 2 clicks, and then 1 click, then 2 clicks. That means fire for effect and go. Fire, 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 and move, move, move. Okay? So, anyway, let's see if we have Edward there up in Kenosha, a little past the bottom of the hour, up in Kenosha. And if we could, we played that yesterday. We went right from the beginning because we want the little small arms fire right from the get-go. Up in Kenosha, little noise and background ear candy would be great. And that's on Hans, the MG42 Gunners channel on YouTube. That is Hans, the MG42 Gunner on YouTube. So we'll see what happens. I'll tell you what, if all else fails, guess what? I can play it. As a matter of fact, I think I can do that. Let's do this. There we we go. I think that we've got a little bit of technology going on here on my end. I've got it squared away, so I am going to take care of this, as a matter of fact. I think I can do it right here from the studio, and it probably will come through well enough. Everybody can let me know, but up in Kenosha, repost. Here we go.
And it's up in Kenosha, that's where I long to be, protecting gas stations with commandos next to me. A comrade on me left eye, another one on me right, and a couple mags of ammo for me little Armalite. Well, this brave BLM man came marching up our street, 600 and our kiddies he had lined up at his feet. Come out, you cowardly Nazis, come on out and fight. He cried, I'm only joking, when he heard the Armalite. And it's up in Kenosha, that's where I long to be, protecting gas stations with commandos next to me. A comrade on me left eye, another one on me right, and a couple mags of ammo for me little Armalite. Well, the commies came to visit me, 'twas in the late hours, with communists and anarchists attacking parked cars. They thought they had me cornered, but I gave them all a fright, with the arm-piercing bullets from me little Armalite. And it's up in Kenosha, that's where I long to be, protecting gas stations with commandos next to me. A comrade on me left eye, another one on me right, and a couple mags of ammo for me little Armalite. To my city there came joggers, they shouted, I can't breathe. They burned down all the buildings and they all refused to leave. They rioted and looted, they went strong for 80 nights, until I started aiming with me little Armalite. And it's up in Kenosha, that's where I long to be, protecting gas stations with commandos next to me. A comrade on me left eye, another one on me right, and a couple mags of ammo for me little Armalite. The Reds came to Kenosha to riot just for fun. The DNC had told them that the cops were on the run, but communists and primates, while on a jog at night, say, remember Coyote Slaughter and the bloody Armalite. And it's up in Kenosha, that's where I long to be, protecting gas stations with commandos next to me. A comrade on me left eye, another one on me right, and a couple mags of ammo for me little Armalite.
All right, and we are at the end of that. Up in Kenosha, that's the repost. That's over at Hans, the MG42 Gunners channel over on YouTube. Share it wherever you can. I've been sharing it all day for the last couple of days. Every chance I walk over to the machine, I stop for a second. I share it to a dozen places or more, and then I go and do something else. Then I come back and I share it to a dozen or 2 dozen places. Even if they restrict you on Farcebook, take it right to the limit wherever you can, and then walk away from it. Seriously, that's how you do it, guys. Use the enemy's tools to whatever level you can. Messenger, use the, post on other pages, post on groups. If they start going, they tell you that you're supposed to have all these friends. I've got thousands and thousands of friends, but I can't talk to them all at once. I get blocked after a while from sharing, and it's like, why should that happen? I mean, I haven't communicated with some of these people in a while. Now I'm communicating with all of them, but I can't because they don't want you to, because, well, then they all get the same information, and they don't really want that. See how that works with the commies? We already knew that. That's okay. So anyway, another piece, like there's more. Yeah, I'm going to do this because I want to try and see if I can throw both of them up here. Let's see if I've got it set. Oh, not quite. And let's see if we got almost there. Oh, we're getting there. Don't worry. Mark's shaking the bush, boss. Shaking the bush. There are several pieces that have been put up here over the last couple of weeks, all, of course, centered around the Kenosha kid. and the situation there, which you haven't heard much more about. But then again, we've already been talking about weekend at Ginsburg's. That's the big thing right now. Now it's going to be that the commies are going to kill us all if Trump, makes another, Israeli-run, racketeer a Supreme Court justice, as opposed to the Democrats having their Israeli operative, in the Supreme Court. Doesn't make any difference. They'll still be both working for the Jewish mob overseas, and we're going to be last on the list to be taken care of, or they just want to do something to us. So we all understand how that works. But it is, again, keeps everybody busy. Does keep everybody busy, doesn't it? And that circular motion thing, round robin, right back. Anyway, real quick here. This particular piece, which I'm going to play, is funny because it's from Far Cry. It was supposed to be derogatory. They're trying to make things derogatory, like you're supposed to feel bad because evil, they want to kill all the white people, etc. Well, this particular piece actually is right in line with where we need to be thinking right now. And for everybody out there, organize, arm, equip, and train as militia. Take the time and purchase more ammunition if you can find it, ammo wherever you can. Find the best price. Don't just buy anything for any price, whatever extreme. Try to shop around. There are still deals to be had. Get them. Our people need to have more. The other side, I don't care if they pay $10 a round. Won't bother me at all. But for our people, remember, we got the thinkers, they got the stinkers. Anyway, keep your rifle by your side. And this is the 2-minute and 54-second version, not quite as long. And again, this is actually from Far Cry, and it was supposed to make you feel really bad because it's white people. They're evil white people, and they want to kill all the evil white people. They want to kill all the white people. They don't care. That's what the whole thing is about. Well, I think we'll be killing you back a lot. And in fact, I think we can do a better job. So we're planning on winning. You all should be planning on winning. I don't care what the other side flaps their yap about. Who gives a squat? That's their propaganda. On our end, ain't propaganda. Fact is, we got the thinkers. They got the stinkers. And for that reason, you need to keep your rifle by your side. Here we go.
Everywhere we go, but when the sinners find us, we won't hide. They'll come out and they'll come back, but we shoot first and we can last. Keep your rifle by your side, singing, oh Lord, this earth was made for us, singing, oh Lord, this sinful life just ain't enough, so we'll take a stand, 'cause we must protect our land. Keep your rifle by your side. They'll come day and they'll come night. They'll have our children in their sight. But if they don't have faith, their eyes are blind. They can scream and they can shout, but they can never smoke us out. Keep your rifle by your side. Singing, oh Lord, this earth was made for us, singing, oh Lord, this simple life just ain't enough. When we hear the voice, we know we have no other choice. Keep your rifle by your side. They'll have bombs and they'll have tanks, they've got money in their banks, but we won't fall as long as we can fight. They'll go on to preach their hate, but they won't get past the gate. Keep your rifle by your side. Singing, oh Lord, this earth was made for us. Singing, oh Lord, this simple life just ain't enough. When I see your face, I know I must protect my place. I'll keep my rifle by my side. Singing, oh Lord, this earth was made for us, singing, oh Lord, this simple life just ain't enough. When I see your face, I know I must protect my place. I'll keep my rifle by my side. Keep my rifle
All right, there we go. That should come through clean and clear, I hope. Keep your rifle by your side. And that is, of course, one of the other songs. That was on the Michael Mouse, M-A-U-S, Michael Mouse channel, M-A-U-S channel on YouTube. 2 minutes and 54 seconds long. That's the shorter version. I don't know. I might even kick in the other one here in a minute just for the fun of it, the longer version. But for everybody out there, again, take the time, build up your music inventory, and make sure that you square the technologies a way that you need to be able to fight and win. Organize, arm, equip, and train as militia. Establish a 510 program in your area of operation. Make sure that, again, you have medical, transportation, and communications support units squared away. In fact, that is as high a priority as any fighting units that we presently have. We have billions and billions of rounds of ammunition. We have a lot of support technology on hand. But remember, guys, what we need is the rest of the infrastructure so that we can fight effectively. Okay, and that means also turning personnel around if somebody gets hit. We want to make sure that we can properly treat and work them into the medical support system and cycle them back around to where they can recover and join the fight again or move on to other activities depending upon how debilitating the injury was. But our mission is to keep our people alive. It takes 20 years to grow a patriot, a little less, little more, depending on how old the person is joining in the fight. But, again, can't wait for that. We need everybody we've got. Manpower conservation is the key to success. Logistics is the key to success. These are part of a string of keys. Each one opens another and again, secures another point in the overall military science spectrum that allows us to function effectively. Okay, we need to make sure that we've got our technology squared away. I know it's Communications Tuesday. Somebody's asking about Mini 14s. There's nothing wrong with a Mini 14. If you've got one, I just stick with it. I mean, I had a conversation with somebody. This is weird, okay? I had a conversation with somebody who has been around a long time, a little older than I am, and he's into technologies, especially transportation. And he goes, I got to have an AR-15. And it's like, okay, well, you should build one. Well, then after we talked about him building one, it's like, well, all I've got is, and then I know he's got a deer rifle, and he's killed more deer than I have twice over. I know he's got a shotgun, but he was like, he's been told that you got to have an AR-15. It's like, well, wait a minute, don't you have like a 30-06? Yeah. You kill a lot of deer with it? Well, yeah, you know that. I said, yeah, you had deer on the deer pole every year for as long as I've been alive. So let me ask you, are you getting really crappy at shooting with that .6? Well, no. I said, well, don't you think that the bipeds are slower than the quadrupeds? And he kind of smiled, like I've said this many times on the air. Guys, if you can shoot Bambi at 125 yards in a 45-degree angle, running at about 27 miles an hour, and you do a shoulder shot every year, you know what? I don't think the bipedal infantry are going to be as much of a problem. Granted, they do shoot back given the opportunity, but who says we're going to give them the opportunity? We're not going to be fighting fair anymore than they think they're going to fight fair. They're already bragging up how they're going to sneak up on us and be the sneaky speed, super whatever, squirrel, blah, 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 blah. Then we kill them, and of course they're going to find out that's not true. And then the world becomes a tit-for-tat, equal opportunity, dying time situation. But as I pointed out to him, I said, don't you have what else do you have? And he goes, well, I got a Mini 14. I said, well, that's all you need. You've got a Mini 14. Now, I would build an AR only because it's fun. I mean, and he's a hell of a machinist, and he runs heavy machinery that he competes with. So it's like, it's not like he doesn't know how to run the mills that he's got, but he's got a Mini 14. Well, you've got the gun you need. Just buy more mags, buy more ammo. Make sure you got it squared away. Aren't you proficient with the Mini 14? And he's got his is a second-generation rifle, and I don't think I sold it to him, but I know he used to come into the shop when I had the gun shop years and years and years ago. And the Mini 14 he's got is probably the next step, like the GB model, so it's pretty well militarized in whatever configuration you want. That's good enough. You don't need to be, if right now everybody's tight on money or they've got other things they need to accomplish, if you got a Mini 14, just start ganging up on ammo just like everybody else and just make sure that you buy more mags. Otherwise, you're squared away and ready to go. So, but if you really feel you want an AR, go get one. This is America. You don't have to have just one gun. You know, I prefer you have 20 or 30 or 50. We got a caller. Jump in there, caller, please.
Yeah, it's Darzak. Hey, every time the term Mini 14 comes into my hearing, I immediately have the memory of back in the early 90s when I was looking around for a rifle, that I was advised against getting a Mini 14 because of problems with barrel warpage if you had high volume fire. Was that something niche back then, or
first of all, if it's a regular sustained fire, I've never seen a problem with that. And again, with regard to high volume fire, I don't know how many rounds you'd be spitting down range before you'd claim that the Mini 14 was going to be a problem. I know I've heard that, but okay, if you fire an AK enough, you've seen the videos. You can catch the front, the foregrip on fire, right? You've seen the videos of that.
Yeah.
Look around on YouTube. Any wood-stocked weapon, theoretically, you could do that. But let me point out, you would never do that. Number one, the Mini 14 that we're operating is not going to be full auto. Okay, you're not going to be full auto. Number two, a lot of guys have taken the Mini 14 and put a really nice high-powered scope on the side of there or on the top of the rifle, because the Mini 14 has the same fixture and fixture location as the M14 for the for the night vision and the sniper scopes, fixtures. So a lot of people are going to be using it for volume, but to a degree some volume, but placement shooting. In its regular sustained fire role as a semi-automatic rifle, I do not foresee in any way, shape, or form anybody cooking those guns that much. You're not going to go over to select fire. If you do, I mentioned the gun that's most likely to be modified would be a GB model, because those did have more heat shields. They intentionally did that. The GB model is the one that Ruger was selling to any tyrant on the planet, but Ruger, the old man, wouldn't sell it to you and me. I've always been disgusted by that. Ruger was notorious, connected with the Oi boys. He would sell 30-round mags to any mass executioner on the planet, but he wouldn't sell 30-round Ruger mags to you or me back when he first came out with them. And they only release a limited number. And the only way that anybody got any 30-round factory Ruger mags is if they knew a cop, because he'd sell to the cops, but he wouldn't sell to you peasants. And the gun is a good rifle. It's an excellent firearm. And there are changes that were made, as was mentioned. As a lot of guys have written articles most recently. The earliest models, there were small modifications that were made mostly because of maintenance, not because of function, but because when people took things apart, they didn't read the manual, okay? That's where the biggest problem was with the Mini 14, which was not a problem. It's just that you learned, when you take that apart, there's a tiny little part you can drop, and you probably won't even notice it, and your gun will now be a manually operated weapon. It won't go semi-auto. And it's like, it's a bad gun. No, it's not. You're just not a good reader. If you read the manual, you would know, and you should know about every one of your firearms, everybody. And don't worry, I learned this. Well, I was a Ruger distributor, and when we first got the Mini 14s in, the front gas system, something I've mentioned many times on the air about, the very first models had a bridge where the gas deflector is, where it comes off, where the hole on the barrel, the gas is diverted into the gas system. There were two castings, or two fixtures, one top, one bottom, make up a clamshell. The tit that's in the middle that is supposed to line up with the gas port had a little donut ring, a little O-ring, that if you pay attention and look, you can see where it had a nest built into the castings. Well, when people would take that apart to clean the whole weapon, they'd take the whole weapon, break it down. They wouldn't realize that little O-ring was actually a separate part, and they would lose it. Now, the first time I had a customer come back with a Mini 14 where he did that, he goes, "It's going semi-auto. It won't go semi-auto. I got to operate it every time." And I was looking at it, and I looked at it, even myself, when I broke the weapon down in front of him right there on the counter, I looked at it, and finally I realized, wait a minute, that's a female. In other words, there was a place where the donut should sit on the bottom, and there's a place where that little donut, the size of less than the diameter of a pencil, in terms of the circle of the seal, we'd rest up above, but there wasn't anything there. And I said, "Did you take what? You took this apart just like I did?" "Oh yeah, I cleaned it down just like we always do. Because we all had the same idea: break it down, clean it completely." That's from our experience with the carbine, okay? Because we knew about the carbine. So anyway, it was like, "Well, there's a part missing here." He goes, "I didn't throw anything away, and there wasn't anything extra." I said, "No, it probably, because it was so small, it probably just dropped out." He goes, "Well, that's possible." So we called Ruger. Ruger said, "Oh yeah, we know the problem. We'll send parts. They'll be there right away." And sure enough, they sent it by airmail, and we got this envelope with 8 of those little gaskets for our customer. Well, that tells me they knew that people were going to lose that. If you look at the newer Rugers, you will find that that part doesn't exist anymore. They changed the design. It was one of the first things they changed in the rifle, and it was not anything that was a bad design. It was just for maintenance purposes where people weren't paying attention, it would be an issue. So they eradicated it by changing the design so that there was a positive male-female lock there, and there wasn't any third part that had to interact with the gun.
Whereas today they would put a sticker on the weapon there saying, "Don't be an idiot and drop this part out," right?
Right. A whole bunch of little arrow here, arrow there, arrow here. But, as far as the Mini 14 goes with regard to serviceability, it's basically, again, as everybody said, a scaled down M14. In fact, it's like up from the carbine, down from the M14. It's the middle gun that kind of fits that niche. And like I said, if you've already got that and you're fretting because you can't find a good priced AR-15, before I'd spend money, if you're limited, I would just buy a lot more mags for your Mini 14 and start piling them up, and then go buy an AR one part at a time. But
or use your Mini 14 to get yourself a couple ARs.
There you go. Down the road, there'll be plenty of black uniform knuckle dragging UN, hat wearing thugs that need to be terminated, and they're nothing but mobile resupply pods. But then you might go, "Wait a minute, Mini 14 collected those just fine. I think I'll stick with it." See, so again, it's okay. A person.
The reason I ask is, like I said, back in the early '90s, when I was considering it, I had talked to somebody in our local pod, and he and the CIA spook that was in the midst of them, they both said, "Oh no, those there's a problem with those. They heat up and the barrel warps, and you lose your true." And so it just always stuck in my mind, and I wasn't sure if it was just because of something back in the day they didn't, put a beefy enough barrel on it, or bad.
Well, originally, now there's another thing. Remember, the philosophy in the earlier days was lighter barrel for the AR, which is one thing that everybody did, because what was the big thing when the AR came out was a 7-pound battle rifle, and if you had the CAR-15, the XM177 rifle, they didn't even consider it a rifle; it was considered a submachine gun. And in both cases, they had what they called the pencil barrels. Everybody else duplicated that idea for the next couple of decades with whatever weapon they developed. And if you look, for instance, on the set-me rifles, they went with a medium-weight, lightweight barrel on that rifle just like they did on the AR, because it was competing against it, or that was considered the social norm. One of the things that Ruger did with the GB is they made a stepped or reinforced weapon. Of course, you'll see a lot of pictures of the short barrel GB that Ruger sold to all those tyrants out there. And when they did, the gun was that was the modification, a slightly heavier barrel on some models. One of the reasons that Spook and Kook would talk about the overheating is because he probably saw in those third world countries or those other countries the GB model in service. And it would be select fire. That would be a click. You could fire 100 rounds, full auto. You could dump a whole mag in however many moments it would take. So that would be the only issue that, or if you were really dumping rounds downrange. One of the first things a lot of guys did is they bought eventually it'd be Tapco. They had replacement upper handguards that had, metal heat shields. They were perforated. They had the bigger breathe points on them, that kind of thing. That was the big deal. And then when the choke stocks came out, a lot of guys turned around and bored breather holes in the stocks. There's all kinds of experimentation was done, usually to deal with breathing and, cooling. But my attitude on it is that you really would have to put a ton of ammunition through a Mini 14, a semi-auto, to get it to that point. So, and again, the later models, there's been barrel change. There's, different configurations. They make a ranch bull barrel. They're not bull, but a ranch heavy, which I think is really be a good choice if you're really going to be selective. But the thing is, right now, even the Mini 14s are tough to find in any good price range. So if you got it, you've already might as well just, feed it. Okay, if you've already got a Mini, it's in 5.56. You got lots of 5.56 government ammo. You're going to be pulling off corpses. Your magazines are going to be specific. That's the only thing. Now, I have maybe 30 or 40 of the AR-15 Mini 14 mags. There were a couple companies that made duality mags for the rifles so they could work in both weapons. They're still floating around out there. I don't know who's doing them, if anybody, right now, because the Mini is kind of, faded into the background, so it's not as big a priority. But back during the 70s and 80s and early 90s, the Mini was very much dominant in the market as a major market share, and that's why it was, it was accommodated. Today, I don't know really what we counterpart to replace that. Most of the guns that they're trying to replace them with are so stinking expensive that, really the average person isn't going to look at them. The SCAR rifles are supposed to be phenomenal this and excellent that, but they're so damn expensive that it's like they're not worth your time. Well, let's put it this way. You can buy 4 AR-15s or 3 AR-15s for the price of one SCAR. Well, I got 3 family members outfitted with a very serviceable rifle for the price of one, so why am I going to buy that one? Now, in America, I can buy any gun I want, so it would be because I just want to. Okay, that would be the reason. But if I was arming up right now, it doesn't make any sense to change out if you've already got a system. But if you're buying into it, the AR still makes the most sense because there's at least tons of parts out there. I can go around and buy a gun right now and make a really nice AR-15. I'd be hard pressed to make a Mini right now. I mean, I'd have to look around to find a better price for mags, and have to find a rifle first. And all of these guys, everybody, no matter what it is. Here's another example, something I asked several people about. Where'd all the high-point carbines go? High-Point's got to be cranking carbines out, so they're going out the door back-ordered as quick as they show up, and there's nothing hardly showing up in the market at all. They should be like a dime a dozen. I mean, they should be at least piled up out there because the factories are to our south, and I doubt that they're closed. So there's an example of a weapon system where very affordable, or at least a little more affordable, and you just can't find any. I mean, whatever's going is, already picked up. Now, profiteers are buying them and then jacking the price. I have seen that. I know that's what's happening to a degree. But again, the Mini 14, a decent little rifle. If you got it, I just keep it. You don't need a flash hider, but there's all kinds of add-on flash hiders. TAPCO and a bunch of other companies make them, which you can add without any problem because you don't even have to have a tool for most of them. You can just clip them right onto the front sight. There are several models, and that's good enough for most of your work. The other thing, you don't need a folding stock unless you're really going to try and conceal it or make it an aircraft gun. And how many places do you really, really, really need to do that? So the basic stock, standard barrel, build it the way, maintain it the way it is. You don't need to change anything up. Just get more mags, get more ammo. And then the only consideration is if Ruger is still friendly, buy more parts, spare parts, firing pin, extractor, ejector, mainsprings, all that stuff. That's the things you're going to, long term, you're going to have to replace. And that should be our policy for everybody out there listening. Firing pin, extractor, and where possible, ejector. And, pick up what you can as quick as you can. The argument about accuracy between the AR and the Mini 14, guys, all of these weapons will hit what they need to when the time comes. If I was competing, looking for a match gun, I can build an AR match gun that'll just outclass, most everything in the 5.56. But that's not what I'm building. I'm looking for a tactical grade weapon, and your Mini 14 coming out of the box is good enough the way it is. That's if you already got it. Again, don't be like this person I've known for years. I was surprised when he said that, only in that it caught me off guard for a minute. I said, wait a minute. What other guns do you have? I know he's got a pile of guns. Most anybody you're talking my age has got a lot more than just 2 or 3 firearms, okay? They usually have like a whole closet full. Now, what you should be doing is if you got a whole closet full, do you have a can of ammo for each of those guns? You might be an oddball out, but that should be your priority right now so that all the weapons you have in the closet can all come to bear and help to defend the country. And if you were amiss and didn't do that, that should be your priority right now. If you got a pile of Grandpa's guns, at the very least you need a couple of boxes for everything. Now, some of them you may not be able to. There are certain calibers, I've mentioned this many times. Guys, they're collector's cartridges, okay? 30 Remington and 32 Remington. They were both beautiful rifle rounds. Before World War II, after World War I and before World War II, those guns were police guns. They were those calibers were used by law enforcement in semi-automatic rifles all over the country. They were used as guard guns in guard towers all over the country. They were used privately for hunting, and you can't find that ammunition. It does not exist. It's chicken teeth. It's unobtainium. So if you got a 30 Remington, it's the idea, well, it's a cute gun. If you got some ammo that Dad left you, just keep it back to the rear and use it for whoever absolutely is just going to fire a few rounds, and that's it. But there's a few other cartridges, which always amazes me because these were very successful semi-automatic weapons made before World War II. 351 is another one. Beautiful little rifle, magazine fed, all machined. Try to find ammunition, and if you do, it's like buying cowboy ammo. It's like, what in the hell? That shouldn't be that price, but they're they're charging what the market will bear for a goofy reason, as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, ideas about ideas. Here's another idea. We are way past the top of the hour. We need to be gone. We are at 7:07. God bless our republic. Death to the New World Order. We shall prevail.
Death to the New World Order.
Yep, we're going to get out of the way. God, the Empire's on the run.
We're on the march both day and night.
All right, guys, for everybody out there, Ed taking over. Sorry about that. Live radio coming up next, and then we're back to the 8 o'clock evening hour. We're live, too. It is Tuesday on Liberty Tree Radio. Bye-bye.